Hello, sir. I wish you are doing well. This is my presentation for TEFL course, which is about using literature in teaching English as a foreign language uh, learners. I will start with my first slide, which is about the definition of literature. Literature is the art of language. When we say the word or when we use the word of art, we mean to be creative or to be different in using something, like using language to express or to say something in a different way. Literature cannot exist without language, so literature is a part of language. For any language, we have, let's say, its literature. Therefore, reading, let's say, learning or teaching. Literature involves language learning, so it needs uh, reading literature involves needs language learning, especially in countries where English is not a native language. So we are speaking about English language. And I will be continue more with the definition of literature to get deep feelings, thoughts, and predictions. How, like when we listen to a poem, so we may feel, let's say, happier or sad, or we will, let's say, that poem will change our feelings from sad to happiness, something like this. Thoughts, for example, while we read some novel or short stories, uh, we, we may have thoughts about something, but while reading those things, our thoughts will be changed. And predictions, during reading some novel or story, in the middle of it you may predict something happen in the future inside uh, that story which you read. Has many kinds. Literature has many kinds, such as poem, drama, novel, role play, or those stuffs. Literature has a deep history. I will explain in next slide. Okay. History. From very past centuries, people have been trying to express their feelings and thoughts through literature. Uh, First of all, when first man, let's say first human created, they didn't have too many words and too many, let's say, complicated topics. So words were too easy. Like, for example, they might have said for go just using the word of G, but day by day, human develop it, and the language of speak develop it, and they try to be more effective while they wanted to express some feelings or some thoughts by using words in an effective way to get others' attention about the importance of their topics. Like, for example, let's say I want to speak about, let's say, happiness. I say, I don't say happiness is a good thing or stuff. I want to live with you. For example, in one tense, you say, happiness is being under the same umbrella with you. It make, let's say, it changes your mood about being with someone else, even it's your love or your friends, to get others' attention about the importance of their topics. So when I speak about it, when I speak in an effective way, I take the audience's attention. Uh, as a very old history, we have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which is a, let's say, it's not a written, it's science, but uh, it have some meaning instead of written stuffs. It's a first draft of written draft we have in the history. Use of literature. Why 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 we use literature? Because it's powerful responsible, it's powerful resource. uh, well, you teach, let's say, through some poem or drama, your resource will be very powerful, and will get your students attention for it. For example, while you reading a story, they want to know what will happen next step, and third step, and what will happen at the end, which means it increase curiosity of or jealousy of your students about that, about the next steps, what will happen. Context is very popular. Yes, sometimes contexts are popular, like you like them, like songs and movies which you have watched. It's used as for basic language skills. Yes, in for literature we must read before we can write poem and short stories. Listening, for example, listening to some songs and speaking while you are doing some, let's say, role play or stuff, you will speak. So you use dirt for area of language skills to make students speak in an accurate and fluent way. Literature is a very, very, let's say, essential way to use to make your students speak in an accurate and fluent way. We know the meaning of accurate, which is mean to speak grammatically and using words in true orders, and fluent is is meaning to use to speak in and emphasizing on words, and let's say very slow or very fast in speaking. These requirements made teachers to use literature in their advanced classrooms. Yes, literature is not for elementaries or secondary classes. Literature must be used in the advanced classes, at the advanced classes, because the meaning of words which is using in literature is difficult, and the vocabularies will be unknown for the students. So teachers must use literature in the advanced classes, and at the let's say classes which students has experienced and spoke language, English language. Realistic authenticity. Learners are exposed to actual language samples of real life in real life like settings. Like when you make a, let's say, role play for students, you put students to speak effectively together, like in real life, like they when they, let's say, uh, do some roles in some theater, let's say, they use let's they go to the same settings, which is uh, can which which can prove students language speaking. The use of language does not only mean to create sentences. Yes, in when we say I know English, it doesn't mean uh, just I speak, or I, or let's say, create some sentences or some phrases. Hello, good morning, how are you? Let's go to school, or stuffs. We must speak in an effective way, like writing poems, like uh, explaining, let's say, stuff by using uh, the figures of speech, like metaphor, metonymy, and smile. Metaphor was like using, let's say, uh, you are, let's say, uh, you are defining someone by using something like uh, the lion opened the door. In that you mean one person, but that person is a lion, is who is, let's say, is powerful, who could open the door. Yes, realistic authenticity means creatively, naturally, and powerful. It means while you use language, you use it creatively, you use it naturally and powerful. Acquire a native like competence. It makes students to, let's say, get a native like, يعني, it means uh, literature makes students speak like a native speaker. Express their ideas more clearly. Through literature you can express your ideas more clearly. Why? Because when you study literature you get, let's say, more advanced English, and not like how I'm speaking in this presentation, precisely and concisely, in a good modern English. Acquiring it, though, it's again enables them to become creative, critical, and analytical. You know, I I explain it creative one, but critical and analytical. Well, critical it means you don't say yes for everything. Sometimes you see something and you make some criticism in your mind about it. In even in language, like Shakespeare has some words and you see why Shakespeare uh, say this, or some other scientist has some thinking about some thoughts about something, and you say why it says it. So literature lead or guide you through this, and analytical, like whenever you read some poem, uh, in the word to word meaning, it may doesn't have, it may not have a meaningful meaning, but when you analyze it, and you make it, you break down the words to part and parts, you may understand what is the exact meaning of it. Able to question, uh, it makes you to ask about what happened. It makes you to interrupt thoughts others, and when someone speak you may interrupt them, or when you hear some thoughts you interrupt or they thought, let's say, why, why it's like this, and you may have, let's say, new thought about it. Connect you with what happened in the past, in the now, and what will happen in the future, and explore, and it gives you a, let's say, an advanced, an accurate, and an a fluent kind of speech. And at the end, thanks for your listening and for your grading my presentation. I wish you forgive my faults in speech, and could give me what I deserve.